Hi guys, my name's Aaron Everything, and I've been a music production and technology student for the past 4 years. I wanted to start this series to show people just how powerful Logic is and to teach people the basics of plugins and editing through Logic, but most of this stuff you can apply to other DAWs as well. The basics of most of what I'll be talking about are present in here, so yeah, let's get started on this. Now guys, for today's lesson I would like to start off with EQ. You can find EQ by going down to your mixer. In the mixer you can bring that up and down by pressing X on the keyboard, as long as you've not altered your keys. Then you go down to Audio FX, EQ, Channel EQ and Mono. Now this is Logic's Parametric EQ. You can see the little symbols above the top. They're known as your bands. These are the parts of the EQ that you can edit. The ones that look like turkey bones are actually called shelves. Now you can actually edit these bands by selecting either the emblem or the ball on the frequency range. You also have these other two bands that you can activate called the high pass and low pass filters. The one I've selected now on the left is known as the low cut high pass filter. It's known as this because you're cutting the low frequencies and allowing the highs to pass. And at the other end of the spectrum we have the high cut low pass, and it's known as this because you're cutting the high frequencies and you're allowing the low ones to pass. Bass and sub bass, and as you grow older you lose the ability to hear
higher frequencies.
Like for an example, my lecturer played a sine wave at like 19.5 kHz and our whole class was in agony because it was like killing our ears, but he couldn't hear anything, so he was just sitting chilling, you know. Still in the vein of volume, we can head to the right, and this is the master volume for the EQ. Now we can bring the master up and that'll boost all the frequencies, or we can bring it down and it'll cut all the frequencies. Now say you have a nice little EQ curve that you like but it's just a bit too loud, you can like cut it like this and it'll bring down the overall volume of the frequencies. Now I'm just going to recall the default on this EQ and we can start talking about our third parameter down at the bottom here, guys. So this is known as the Q. The Q affects how wide or narrow the range of frequencies are that we're going to be affecting when we cut or boost one of the bands. Now I'm going to play with this yellow one for this lesson. Here we go. Now if you go down the bottom here now, you can widen out the range of frequencies that we're boosting like this. So every time I boost that, it's affecting a wider range of frequencies, and every time I narrow it, it's affecting less of the range of frequencies. Now this can be like really useful for making pinpoint accurate EQ cuts and boosts. I would use it mostly for surgically EQing sound like I am here now. You can go and check if there's like any really bad frequencies in it, and then you can cut them out by using your gain knob. And now if you do that a few times, it'll really clean up your sound. It's really useful, guys, especially if you're making social media content for your phone. You really want to like get out those harsh high-end frequencies. Now guys, let's talk about the analyzer. It's present in the bottom left of your EQ, and what it does is show what frequencies are in your song and what volume they're at. You can see them here now. We have it set to post at the minute, so that's what they're at after being EQ'd, but we can set it to pre and it shows you what the frequencies and volume were at before it was EQ'd. Now I can show you this now. This is going to be me playing with one of the frequencies, and if I cut this frequency and have it set to post, you can see that the volume of them frequencies is reduced, but if I press pre and play it now, they're unaffected. I've been in my bag like I was a gram of smoke. I can never let it. Now let's talk about this HQ button down here in the bottom right. So if you select your high cut filter and bring it out, you can see it's got quite a sharp cut on it. And if you want to make that a lot smoother, you can click this HQ button. Now I know I said earlier that you can't really hear past 20,000 Hertz, but you don't want to cut it out so sharply either, so because you're losing a lot of good sparkly frequencies up there, you know. Now I think we should talk about the difference and how the volume parameter works on the high and low pass on your EQ. So you can see on the very left there in red it says 6 dB/oct. This means 6 decibels per octave. So you can see it has like a smooth decline. That's because for every octave present on your frequency range, it's cutting it by 6 decibels of sound. So it's got like a really smooth one, or you can make a really steep one where it cuts 48 decibels per octave. Some EQs will offer you more. Logic's goes to 48. You'll probably not need much more than that anyways, to be honest with you, because it's pretty sharp at 48. Guys, you will use these a lot when you're mixing, you know, just for like your hi-hats and all. You want a really big low cut filter, and you'll bring that up like 800 hertz or something, because you won't need any of the frequencies down below. That's all where your kick drum lives. You know, you should have that mic'd up separately. And for vocals, you won't need like under 100 hertz for most vocalists, maybe not even 130 for female vocalists. So it's very useful, guys. And guys, that's about all I really need to show you for the parametric EQ. So next we're going to move on to the graphic EQ present in Logic. Alright guys, next we're going to talk about Logic's graphic EQ. So you can find that by going to Audio FX, clicking there, going all the way down to Logic, and then go to EQ, and the very bottom one in here, Vintage EQ Collection. And all these are actually based on your analog EQs. So we select the Vintage Graphic EQ, we go onto it here. And now guys, there's something actually really cool about this that isn't present in analog versions of it. You can tune the EQ to go up and down the frequency range, so you can affect more frequencies. Analog versions usually only have about 8 or 16 frequencies that you can cut or boost, and that's all you can really do in this one, guys. You can only cut or boost the frequencies. You don't have any control over the actual Q. Although there is a Q present, you just can't see it. Now, if you go down here to the left, then we see our in button. This is just a bypass pretty much, so you can hear what it sounds like with and without the EQ. And then we go over to our drive, and this is pretty much a preamp, so you can like run a lot of signal in for it and make the sound really distorted, and then EQ it from there. Output mode, it's basically just furthering the analog side of things. It's all based on analog equipment too. Phase, you want to leave that at natural. You also have the option of linear, but just leave it at natural. And volume, that's just the output of the sound of the EQ. Guys, that's pretty much it for the basic EQs in Logic. I just want you to keep in mind that EQs can be in a lot of different places in Logic too, and it can affect your overall sound. Just remember, amps have it, synthesizers have it, some reverbs actually have it, like a chroma verb present in Logic, and it can be really handy. It can also really mess with you when you're trying to get that certain sound or tone you want, and you can't figure out why it's not getting there, you know? Thanks so much for watching, guys. You can help me out by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Listen to my music on Spotify using the DistroKid referral link that are both present below in the bio, or you can hit me up for some mix and mastering or vocal performances for your tracks. Thanks so much, guys. Any problems or questions, you can leave them in the comments below and I'll try and answer them. Thanks again. See you later. Love you. Bye.